Here we are, back again. D and Bill are back. Tell a friend. What's going on, kids? Zazubar's here. So's Super DM64. D, say hi.
Hey, everybody.
It's DFOS episode 92, maybe? Or is it 91? I don't remember.
God damn it, Bill. Hold on.
It always just... This is how it always has to go down. I flounder to think of what episode number it is, and then you just look it up. Because I don't want to look it up. I've got something that I'm going to be using open on my phone. I don't want to leave it. I might forget it's there. So, on this week's episode of DFOS...
To be fair, you killed some brain cells last night, so it's all excusable.
Yeah, we recorded the Through the Shot Glass Christmas special last night, and it had some devastating consequences on my physical being, and also my day today, my schedule, what I was able to do. Ugh. Dylan fucked me up bad. It's all his fault with his fucking drinking game and shit.
It is pretty much my fault. It was a great time, though. 92 is what this episode is.
Oh, so I was wrong twice. Interesting. Fascinating. Awesome. Well, aren't I a fuck? Regardless of the episode number, though, we are going to be doing kind of a science blowout episode this time. We haven't done any science articles this season since we brought the show back. We've only been doing review topics, and we did that Wouldn't It Be Interesting If. And then we talked about that Kong trailer. But we used to alternate week to week of doing science stuff, then a review thing, science stuff, then a review thing. I mean, we fucked it up a whole bunch, but that was the basic idea. We've kind of thrown that out, so we'll probably just keep doing...
Now we're preferring to... Now we prefer to only do science weeks when we actually have science shit to talk about, because the thing is, there's not always a science thing to talk about that just happens to correspond with the week you want to do one on. So now we've been doing lately a whole lot more of the review topics, and hopefully we can come up with some more Wouldn't It Be Interesting If, and maybe some other segments too to break all this shit up. But at the moment, that's where it stands.
Yeah, and also I just let all the news stockpile over the season, and now I've got a whole list of stuff. We'll have to leave a whole bunch out, but I can always go back to it if we do this again, and which we will. We'll do a whole bunch of review topics again, and then we'll come back to science down the road when there's more stuff to talk about. But we're actually not going to open with that even. We're going to steal a note from Andres' SOS page and talk about some pop culture goings-on, because they happened today or just during the week. I don't know when Dylan's happened, but mine happened today. So the one I'll talk about is we got the announcement of the title for Legendary's second Godzilla movie, which is Godzilla King of Monsters. Not Godzilla King of the Monsters like the original. It's another modern movie title that changes like one element of the title to make it different, and I don't always like that, but I'm fine with it here. We haven't had a Godzilla movie with that in the title for a long time, and it makes sense given what we saw at the end of the last one. So I think it works.
70 years or 60 years to be exact. 60 years, yeah. Ultraman
yeah,
50
56. 56 is when King of the Monsters was put out, yeah.
60 years.
And that moniker isn't something that's even like used in the movies really either. Like, nobody really calls him the King of the Monsters in the movies. Maybe I'm not remembering a couple of times where they did, but if they did, they didn't use those exact words.
It's more so just a moniker that gets thrown around by fans, American fans specifically. You know,
yeah, there's a lot of terms and phrases like that the fans make a bigger deal out of than the movies do. This universe, though, because of that fan stigma that's been attached to it, has definitely made a big deal out of it, which is cool. I like that he's hopefully maybe going to be called that in the movie at some point, and maybe that title will have some kind of significance. We know that they also announced, we didn't talk about this on SOS, we should have, they announced the writers for the new Godzilla. I have the article right here. I want to see if they list the writers' names, because I never remember them, because they're people I'm unfamiliar with. Let's see.
While he's looking that up, it's also interesting to note that they've apparently changed the title of the Pacific Rim sequel from Maelstrom to, what was the new one again?
Pacific Rim Uprising.
Uprising.
They really genericified it, didn't they?
Which, what the fuck ever. Do we have to keep doing this? I would be fine if they just called it Pacific Rim 2. Like, what's wrong with 2? Is 2 a dirty number now? Can we not use 2?
People are moving away from number sequels because it's gimmicky. and it kind of
Resurgence isn't gimmicky. It's like,
what?
get it? Because it's like the title Independence Day Resurgence feels more gimmicky to me than 2, because it's like, oh, get it? They're resurgent.
I'm not saying that what we do now is any less of a gimmick. I'm just saying that there's a more long-standing stigma attached to the gimmick of, well, it's number 2 and it's going to be exactly the same thing again. I think that's the stigma that a lot of these movies are trying to avoid. Especially with movies like Pacific Rim, where it's a different cast. It takes place a whole bunch of years after the first one. So they're probably trying to separate it from the first one as much as they can.
The Apes movies really won the lottery on sequel title gimmicks. They have the best gimmick. They just have to add a new word to the beginning of their title, and boom.
Yeah, they set that up well for them in the 60s, didn't they? I still can't find the name of these writers. No, I just got it right now. Michael Dougherty, or Doherty, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Zach Shields. Max Borenstein apparently did a little bit of outline work early on, but he dropped out early, so he probably won't even be credited. Unless they use elements of his story that he'll have to be credited for, but we don't know.
The new got is the guy who did Trick or Treat, which I've never actually seen, but I've heard it's actually good. So
no, they didn't announce the official director yet. They're talking about one of the writers being the director. They're in negotiations, but they haven't finalized that yet.
Okay, maybe that's the Trick or Treat guy that I was hearing about.
Yeah, well, they also worked on that Krampus movie that came out a year or 2 years ago, which is actually apparently really good and interesting because it's not a comedy, but it's funny in a clever way because of how it plays with the tropes of the 80s horror movies that it's trying to kind of recapture the feel of, while also sort of bringing in some modern ideas about it. So I think that those guys are probably, maybe not the best choice, but certainly a great choice, I think, to do a new Godzilla movie, and one that theoretically is going to be a bit bigger in scale and maybe a little bit kind of crazier in terms of what the monsters are doing and what we're going to see from the story. I hope so, anyway.
Do you think it's going to be is this the one that supposedly is going to have Mothra and Rodan and King Ghidorah in it?
That's what they said. The summer 2014 came out. There was
given that idea and given the title that we've just been released, I wouldn't be surprised if it wound up being like a GMK type movie, where it's just Godzilla tearing through some enemies, and then at the end he's the king.
I think the point of the movie will be that Godzilla is no longer the only threat now, and stuff. There's stuff on his level and above. Like, the Mutos are not. I think you can make an argument that they're less dangerous than Godzilla. Like, we'd probably be able to contain them a lot easier than we could Godzilla. So this movie is probably going to be more about these are threats that are on Godzilla's level or bigger. So Rodan, obviously kind of an equal to Godzilla. Mothra as well. Ghidorah, though, Ghidorah is a whole other level. And the more and more we get away from 2014, like distance in terms of when it came out, the more I want them to make Ghidorah a space monster. It's going to have been 5 years since 2014 came out when they finally put this thing out. So why don't we just abandon all of the gritty, grounded realism that we set up in that movie and just do whatever the hell we want? Let's just have a space monster.
Yeah.
Because whatever they come, because I know they won't do that, or if they do, they'll do some very vague variation on it. It's going to be really hard for them to give Ghidorah a realistic origin.
Yeah.
Let alone Mothra. My God.
Well, I mean, they have to do the same thing that Toho did back in the day. The original series, the show series, started out in a very sort of grounded way, and it didn't get really crazy until they were like, "Hey, let's cross them over with the giant fairy bug that we established in that other movie," and that's when shit really started to get bizarre.
Yeah, definitely. The universe got expanded out, and also I feel like Ghidorah as a movie, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, is interesting because it's a movie about alien invasion, sort of, but there are no real aliens in it per se, except Ghidorah. He's the only one that really qualifies as an alien. The Venusian princess, she's not really an alien. She's just a descendant of them, and her mind has been taken over by the consciousness of those past ancestors that were aliens. So it's a lot more grounded than Godzilla got in the next movie with Astro Monster. So I'm just saying that I kind of like to see them throw in some crazier stuff than 2014 would have ever thrown in the anticipation of doing more of it later. I mean, they've talked about putting Mechagodzilla into this universe, so I'd
get at some point, honestly.
I really, well, that's definitely how you cap off the trilogy, I think, if they're going to go that route. I don't think they will anymore. I think they're just going to keep making these until they're not popular anymore. Which may be sooner than maybe we'd want. But I don't know. We just got a title, and we're ranting and raving about directions of the narrative and all that. But it's fun. It's fun to talk about. But yeah, Godzilla King of Monsters. It'll probably be fine.
Most likely.
So Dylan, do you want to talk about your news? Yours pertains to the realm of Dragon Ball, correct?
It does. That realm that we both love so much. So recently,
that's fine.
Recently in Dragon Ball Super, have you seen episode 70 yet?
I'm gonna watch it after this.
It's probably my favorite of the filler episodes we've been getting. It's hilarious.
Oh, I can't wait.
And there's another character from Dr. Slump in it, so you're going to be really confused for like 2 microseconds. But
great,
whatever.
My favorite.
Anyway, the episode 71 preview at the end of episode 70 showed something that we had received word up through spoilers, and that is the next episode is going to delve into this whole story that they're going into, where somebody has apparently hired Hit to assassinate Goku. However, that appears like it's only going to be a very short sort of filler arc, because we have just received news of the next big arc that will be happening in February of the following year. So the next arc, we don't know a whole lot about it yet, but what we do know about it is very interesting. We have a title. It's called the Space Survival Arc.
Ooh.
And we have a promotional image that has some people very excited. So I'm going to link that promotional image to you now.
All right. Okay. So I'm looking at it. Oh, I saw this earlier. 17 is what's got everybody excited, right?
Well, there are 2 things, really. One, yes, it appears that Android 17 will be reappearing in Dragon Ball Super very soon. But the other thing that has a lot of people very excited is that we have Gohan in his Ultimate Gohan Guest, his old Buu Saga appearance. He appears to be back at his full power.
Yes, son!
A lot of Gohan fans have been really anxious for him to get it back into the action. Hashtag make Gohan great again. And now it appears that maybe he is. Also, a lot of interesting information as far as side characters are concerned. Master Roshi is apparently going to be concerned in this arc in some way. Boo's going to have a role to play. Shinhan is there apparently. Piccolo's arm is at the very edge of this image, so he's going to do some shit.
18 has put on Gohan's tracksuit.
Well, no, his was green, but a very similar tracksuit.
Yeah. Krillin's going to be involved. Yeah, no, this looks great. I mean, there's literally nothing about it that we can determine story-wise from this.
No. I'm sure soon, translations will come out about what some of this promotional material is actually saying. Maybe it's already out there and I'm just haven't seen it yet. But this is what we do know. Gohan, 17, Space Survival Arc. Don't know what that means. Are they going back into space? Are we going to get some spacefaring?
We've been in space in different dimensions throughout this entire series so far, and I've loved it for that. I'm really glad they went super cosmic with Super.
Yeah, but we haven't had there hasn't been a Star Trek-esque going into space for exploratory purposes since really the Namek shit happened. Everything else has been they're going to a very specific location for a specific reason. You know what I mean?
Do you want them just fucking around in space for a while?
And it's mostly been Whis taking them places, and he knows where the fuck he's going. But given the title of this Space Survival Arc, I don't know. It might just be them. Why are they in space? I don't know. What are they doing in space? Who the fuck knows? Are they even in space? Are they actually in cyberspace? Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, they're in the Matrix. I was gonna say they've been brought to Total Recall.
Goku can replace the kanji on his gi with a little email symbol, and then
oh, somebody's got a little man living in their stomach. Anyway, Total
So,
Recall
you know,
and the Matrix references aside.
also, 17 appears to be brandishing a gun. I'm happy to see that.
Well, it's good to know he's going to be shooting motherfuckers. I mean, it'll probably do nothing, given that all the characters that we introduce now are pretty much immune to guns.
I love when 17 gets to use. He was always like carrying around a gun in DBZ, and he barely ever got to use it, except like occasionally on civilians.
Yeah, that always reminded me of Superman 2. There was a deleted scene where General Zod just picks up a gun and starts mowing people down with it because he thinks it's funny to take like the weapons of this inferior species and use it against them, even though he doesn't have to. It's great, and
Yeah.
and that's what that kind of reminds me of. I bet it's a reference to that. You can see that
Well,
in the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, by the way.
Well, I like it because just the concept of this is a character who potentially would have enough power to like destroy the planet on a whim if he so chooses, and he's just using a fucking gun because it's cool.
Yeah. It's cool to murder people with fast-moving metal. I'm excited, though.
And that's all we know. So February 5th, we'll all be excited to see what goes on with that, and I'm especially excited to see where this apparently short filler thing with Hit goes, because I know you haven't watched episode 70 yet, but the episode 71 preview was quite interesting.
Yeah. No, it's a good premise, because Hit and Goku had a very respectful kind of good parting of terms when they parted ways in the Universe 6. So it'll be interesting to see what leads to Hit trying to assassinate him. Presumably somebody paying him, but we'll find out why. I mean. Alright, D, you ready to be blinded with some science?
Let's fucking do it.
Alright, so these are advancements in the field of science. So we got a couple of stories today, a couple of big stories. I have a whole bunch of shit. We're just going to cover the really weird, interesting stuff. So there's a big one that...
Segment, advances in the field of science.
Yeah.
We're geniuses. Okay,
right?
Go on.
Isn't it great when we forget we came up with a thing and then we remember it and it's just great? God, we're such... Man, we're
Remember
amazing.
Odyssey?
Yeah, oh, so good. So good. Maybe better if we would have finished, but it's still so good. So Dylan, there's a Korean statue that depicts Jesus that he's like super muscular. Do you see this? I think you saw this.
Yeah, I saw this, yeah.
So it's on Viral Crunch. This is the headline actually says this Korean statue depicts a Jesus so jacked it looks like his last supper was pure protein. So graphic depiction and recreations of Jesus have always portrayed the Son of God as a thin but shredded deity. I've never really seen Jesus as shredded. I've more just seen him as kind of just a normal dude. Like, he's kind of always depicted as a bit of a hippie, like kind of a skinny, like almost like a Shaggy type, you know?
I think by shredded, they mean the skin is literally being filleted off of his bones.
I did not get that, but okay.
At least that's how I interpreted it, yeah.
What's great about the statue as well is that not only is Jesus, like, super ripped, but his face is also like, he's like, "Arr!" Like, he's like, really, really showing off his biceps, you know?
Jesus angry.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like the Lou Ferrigno Hulk, but with a crown of thorns around his head.
See, to me, he looks like He-Man, because you can't even make out the mustache, because it's like white marble. So he just looks like fucking He-Man on a cross for some reason, with the planet Earth up above him.
Apparently, this just popped up online, and they don't even know where the actual statue is. It's reportedly in a park in, oh god, Yongcheon, Korea, but it's not been confirmed. So we don't even know where this is, so we can't even tell you guys where to go see it if you want. That's so sad.
I wonder how long this thing's been around. This thing could have been carved years ago, and like the internet just now discovered it and thinks like, this is cutting edge.
It looks new. It doesn't look old. Because, like, it looks totally flawless. Like, it's still very pristinely white. It doesn't have any, like, acid rain effects on it or anything. I think it's pretty new. What would motivate somebody to do this, do you think? Just somebody who really likes Jesus and wants somebody to be seen as the true heavyweight champion of the world that they know in their heart that he is?
They're not the only ones to ever depict him this way, though. Look at this painting I found. Turned meme.
I've probably seen this too. Let's see. Okay, I've actually not seen that. My god, that's so much better than the statue. It looks like a like a what am I trying to say? What's that character called? Fuck,
Because ultimately the statue is still stuck there. This painting is just like, fuck your cross.
He looks more like a Hercules type than Jesus, you know, like he's like breaking the chains and shit. Pretty badass. Pretty badass. But what is the motivation, do you think? Just to be like, I guess it's just funny because it's like Jesus isn't seen as a guy who has to get physical with people to make his point. Like, he's the son of God. Like, he kind of just has to be there, and it's like, okay, we got you, Jesus. But if he's also ripped, he can also mess you up and knock all your fucking teeth out. So I guess that's good. It's a good double punch. You know, he's got both corners covered.
I mean, I just gotta say, if he had been depicted this way my entire life, I might be more inclined to believe, you know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can believe that this guy would willingly be put on a cross. He'd be like, I don't fucking care, man. You're gonna have to get some hefty-ass nails to get put through my hands, so good luck. They probably had to, like, go to a blacksmith and get them specifically designed just for him. They're like, so, we got Jesus, King of the Jews. Turns out he's fucking ripped, and his hands are, like, the size of your head.
You remember that giant ass nail they drove into Daimajin's head in the first Daimajin?
Yeah.
They'd get a couple of those.
Yeah, exactly. Which, when I looked at that, I was like, it kind of looks like a ripped Jesus version of Daimajin. I kind of want to see them fight now. Like, this thing comes off the cross and just starts, like, using it as a battering ram against Daimajin.
Well, the painting, he has actually ripped the wood off of the cross, and it's still attached to his arm. So now he has, like, the metal car boxing gloves from Hulk.
That's awesome.
So that's great.
I wait for the day, and we've kind of gotten it already, but I wish it was good, where we can just have Jesus in, like, these insane action situations where he's just like, it's Die Hard, but it's Jesus, you know? Like, that's what I want. I want, like, muscular Jesus to be an action star. But I don't think we'll get that for a long time. They've
done Ninja Jesus on Robot Chicken before. That was pretty good.
There was a comic book series called The Goddessy from a long time ago, which I was sort of inspired by when we came up with the title for Godzilla Odyssey. I thought of that in my head, and I was like, oh, I'll tweak that a bit, it'll be great. And it was. Like we said earlier, it was great. Never needed to be finished. And in that, the Greek gods basically come down once Jesus has been crucified, and they start laughing at him. They're like, Jesus, look at you, you're fucking full of shit, nerd. Mom cuts his hair and shit. And Jesus actually pulls himself off the cross and starts doing kung fu against the Greek gods and fucks them up.
This sounds amazing.
Right? Well, apparently it's real bad. Like, it's dumb, but in all the wrong ways. Like, all the worst ways. So, I don't know. I've never personally read it. I just know of its existence, and I know of that part of it. So, anyway, that's ripped Jesus for you. Pretty interesting to say the least. I just wish we knew why the guy did it. That's especially in Korea.
Oh, Bill, you're gonna love this.
What?
It's always nice to know that there are other sick, twisted people just like us out there in the world, Bill.
Oh, great.
They thought of the same fucking thing we did. You ready for this?
I don't know, man. We'll find out. It's the Hulk, but he's Jesus. Great. And I love how they made the loincloth purple. Perfect. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Now that they've got the green on there and I can actually see his face, he's not, like, growling. He's actually smiling.
He's like, yeah.
He's like, hey, I'm up here. This is a nice view from up here.
I'm getting the feeling of coming on the cross. I'm getting the feeling of coming in heaven.
I'm just coming all the time. All right, let's move on to the next article, shall we?
I want Arnold Schwarzenegger play Jesus. I have one more question to ask you about the Jesus story.
Right. No,
this is not even a
can't.
question
I'm
about
sorry.
the story.
No, it's just...
This is not even a question about the story. This is not a question for Jesus. This is a question for you specifically.
Well, good, because if it was a question for Jesus, I could not pass it on to him.
Why is this an advancement in the field of science?
Oh, right. Okay, so this is certainly a question I can field. Well, the answer is because it was saved in all the same news article as all the science stories, so it kind of counts. And scientifically, it's very interesting to see how the Koreans feel about the human form. I guess it's more sociologically interesting, I suppose, than anything else. But sociology is still science, D. The chemical reactions inside the brains of all those Koreans who are out there making ripped Jesus statues, that's cold hard science.
Well,
Cutting edge stuff.
That's a stretch, and normally I would give you shit, but if it hadn't been for this conversation, I never would have seen Korean Hulk Jesus. So we can move on now.
Delightful. D, they found a piece of a dinosaur tail preserved in amber.
They did, and definitely...
It's fully intact. Well, not fully intact, but it's got scales, it's got feathers on it, it's a piece of a dinosaur. There's other bugs in there and shit.
It's certainly a dinosaur and not an ancient bird because the tail bones are not fused. So it's definitely from a dinosaur. It's not from like an Archaeopteryx or some shit. If I remember correctly, I think it's from a Coelurosaurus.
Is that what's in the drawing at the top of the National Geographic article, or I presume so?
Yeah, well, the Coelurosaur is actually a big family that includes like fucking raptors and T-Rexes and shit like that. It's the theropods that are closer to birds than carnivores. So,
so this is cool that we now have a glimpse into that family, since that's kind of the one that people were the most kind of captured by.
Yeah, and that might be the first family that we get to clone because there's soft tissue, Bill. There's fucking soft tissue.
I know, yeah. So that's the really exciting thing. This podcast has been the point of this science section of this podcast. I feel has been Dylan and I's constant quest to one day finally be able to try what T-Rexes taste like. That's what this podcast has been designed for from the very beginning, and it looks like that day may finally be here.
I just want us to clone an extinct animal and bring them back. That's all I want to happen in this world. I feel like that's the new American dream, you know. It used to be going to the moon. We've forgotten about that shit. We need a new scientific goal to beat the Russians to, and I think this could be the one.
Do you think that the Russians are really sitting in their offices going, "Fuck, we gotta top the Americans. They got all those memes. What are we gonna do? Oh, I know. We'll clone a fucking dinosaur, and now we have to one up that." It'd be great.
I mean, we don't really have to one up them because their economy is shit, but we're still gonna anyway. Because we have to flex our muscles and show that we're the best.
Yeah, and then they potentially are directly involved in our election. So yes, we're looking very muscular right now in comparison to Russia. So this isn't, based on what I'm reading here, it doesn't look like this is exactly the first time this has happened. It's more that not only is it like the best example, but it's also it's a dinosaur tail attached to feathers. Prior to that, it's always been like feathers kind of like just strewn around in the fossil record, or just an imprint or whatever, or even just a feather preserved in amber. This time we have those two things together. So I finished reading the article, and the tail seems to have been found in China, or maybe on the border of China and Burma. I'm unsure. They throw out a whole bunch of location names, and I can't really keep track. But the
one that I read was found in Myanmar. However you pronounce that. Myanmar,
yeah, I saw that. But where is that though? What country is that in?
I don't know. Hold on.
It's under the jurisdiction of the Chinese government, because that's their scientists are the ones studying the cross section, and they're the ones that it is in Burma. Okay. Well, apparently the Chinese government has some claim to the amber mine, though, that this was found in, and
it was formerly known as Burma, so Burma is now Myanmar.
I see. Close to China by some means, I imagine, though.
Yeah, it's like in the same area it's like on the same peninsula as like Thailand and Vietnam, but it's further north.
Okay. There was some conflict though over what exactly was going to be done with it, because technically it's owned by a jewelry company, and they had already started to round out the cross section before the scientists ever got their hands on it, because they were going to make it into jewelry. So it's hilarious how this stuff gets used by people who don't understand what it is, you know? Like, they see this incredible thing preserved in amber, and they just go, yep, let's turn it into jewelry. Like, you don't think to have it analyzed at all. And they probably do that all the time. There's probably way more pieces of dinosaurs preserved in amber out there, just sitting around cute girls' necks, just made up into jewelry, you know?
For real, yeah.
The women of this country probably have the secrets of dinosaur genealogy locked away in their jewelry boxes. But we'll never know. because they won't let me date them. No, weird thing to say. But anyway.
This is a particularly good find. This is a fantastic specimen.
Oh, I just realized this article got put out on my birthday. So this was a nice birthday present to me. But there's no talk about getting DNA from it in this. They talked about doing an x-ray of the bones and finding how many vertebrates were in the tail and being absolutely sure that this thing could not fucking fly. This is closer to a turkey than any other kind of modern bird, they said. And if you look at the feathers up close, like they do a bunch of super close-up shots, they don't really look like bird feathers, really? Would you agree? They look different. They look more kind of prototypey.
Well, they're probably proto-feathers.
Yeah, they look spindly, and like there's not a lot of development on the actual feathers themselves. It looks more like hair.
That is a thing, proto-feathers. It's like, yeah, just go look up proto-feathers. That's what's been theorized about for a long time. Pretty sure they had fossils of like imprints that we knew what they looked like, and this is the first time that we actually just have some there and actually attached to the tail.
So, what do you think? Can we clone a dinosaur from this?
I would certainly like to think so, yes.
Well, so what are we talking about then? So we've got the DNA. Let's say we can extract a rather complete sample of this thing's DNA from the tail. Where do we go from there?
See, the one article that I did read said that they thought that they could get hemoglobin, so that is fantastic.
Which that's that's one of the active agents in red blood cells, right?
Yeah.
And I think I read somewhere, maybe in Jurassic Park, and this might be outdated science by this point, but I thought that I read that dinosaurs would theoretically be easier to clone because they probably have nuclei in both their red and white blood cells, because we don't. We only have nuclei in our white blood cells, I think. Meaning, and nuclei is where DNA is held. The information of a gene is held. So, you need a nucleus to be able to do it, is the point. I don't know if that's outdated, though. And that's also a matter of, like, finally figuring out whether or not dinosaurs are closer to birds or reptiles. And obviously this tail is a step in the direction of telling us they were probably closer to birds. Or at the very least, a very close kind of middle ground. So,
presumably to clone a dinosaur, you'd have to do something similar to what they want to do with the mammoth, and like use a currently living species that's closely related to actually carry the egg or whatever.
Yeah, that would be that would probably be one of the biggest issues. Is what do you do birthing it? Like, you can get the DNA, you can copy it, you can fill in the sequence gaps, whatever you got to do. How are you going to birth the thing, though? How are you going to grow it?
What you got to do, and I'm pretty sure that they already have, they're working on mechanisms to do this. I'm pretty sure they can take an egg of like a bird that's around now. Let's say an ostrich, because you need something kind of sizable.
That's what they use. That's what they use in Jurassic Park, the movie, not the book. The book, they're fake eggs.
Right. Assuming that they have, I mean, it all depends on exactly what type of coelurosaur this is. If it's a big creature or a small creature, but I would say ostrich, just as a guess. You take something like an ostrich, and you engineer somehow. Basically, what you would have is an ostrich egg that the ostrich is carrying and giving birth to and taking care of and all that. But it has the DNA of the dinosaur implanted into it.
Right. It's kind of like in that movie Carnosaur. You ever see Carnosaur?
Yeah.
They basically start turning chickens into velociraptors.
This is basically what the whole mammoth cloning thing aims to do, is to implant a mammoth embryo into an elephant.
That's probably a lot easier, though, because it's a lot less of a genetic leap.
Perhaps.
Although, and again, I don't know how much of this is just, kind of pseudoscientific hearsay, but I would think that it might even be a little easier with dinosaurs because the genetic information is simpler, maybe? So it's easier to kind of swap out with the ostrich? regardless, just like in those Jurassic Park books, in the real world, we'd probably never be able to clone a perfect copy of what a dinosaur looked like. This creature comes from 99 million years ago, so it would still be like a rough approximation, like how it's described in those books, right?
I don't know though, because with this being an actual piece of a dinosaur preserved in amber, not a blood sample taken from a mosquito, but an actual piece of the dinosaur, I would have to assume that the DNA samples that we gleaned from it would be a lot more complete than what they would have had access to in the Jurassic Park scenario.
Sure, but at the very same time, we still have to remember that there have been people who have been like, it's impossible anyway because DNA has a half-life of, I think it's like 2 million years or something. So unless the amber somehow counteracts that, and I'm not aware if it does, I would maybe think so because of what Jurassic Park implies, but again, pseudoscientific nonsense maybe. Maybe not. I would be interested to know if that same rule about the half-life of DNA applies even if it's preserved in amber. But I don't know. These are the shortcomings of the education of a film major. They don't teach us about DNA half-lives in indie filmmaking class.
Damn it, they should.
I agree. I'm totally with you. Regardless, this is still very exciting, and even if it doesn't lead to Dylan and I being able to try T-Rex meat, it's still pretty fucking cool.
I just want a little pet dinosaur, you know? I could train it to, like, bring me drinks and shit.
At the very least, we're going to form a deeper understanding of how dinosaurs work now. Because we can get a really good, detailed look at what they looked like on the inside.
Oh, and the outside.
And the outside, yeah.
That's pretty much been speculation, but here we actually have an honest-to-God piece of one. You know, we can look at coloration, skin texture, all of that cool shit.
Well, Dylan, I've got a couple.
Extrapolate that to the rest of the creature.
All right, why don't we move on? I got a couple more here. So, two small ones, and then we'll go to two kind of maybe bigger ones. This is also from I Fucking Love Science, and this article is called "Monkeys Should Be Able to Talk If Only They Had the Brains to Do So." And the basic gist of this article is that brain capacity, not brain capacity wise, that physically, based on their vocal cords and their body structure and everything, monkeys and apes should be able to talk and form human words. They just don't have the brains to do it, basically, is the idea. But they do have the vocal cords capable of producing human speech. They did an X-ray on...
This makes Planet of the Apes much more plausible.
Well, I think that's why it's cool that this came out now, because we just had the Planet of the Apes trailer this past week.
Because assuming this means that all you have to do is increase the mental faculties of the ape, and then speech would become a possibility.
They did X-rays on macaques, which are monkeys, not apes, to see the different movements in their lips and tongue and larynx when making noises, to compare it to what we do and how we're able to speak, and to see if there's any kind of common ground that could suggest that they could do it themselves. And they figured out that they could. And more than that, they figured out what it would probably sound like based on those X-rays if a monkey could talk. Dylan, would you like to hear it?
Does it sound like fucking Andy Serkis?
It's interesting. It does a little bit, but it's got this really creepy kind of nasally raspiness to it. That's not that. Here, I'll just play. I'm gonna play it right into my microphone so everybody can hear it. It's saying, "Will you marry me?" And I guess that's a question to you, Dylan. Will you? Wait, he's gonna ask again. Hang on. He's desperate for your love. See, he's just desperate for your love. So what do you make of that? You're not gonna marry him, but do you approve of him?
No.
No, I see.
Pretty sure that's how AIDS started, but
odds are. So what do you think? What's your take on that?
Don't give me that chop and chimp meat shit. It's pretty fucking creepy.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Animals would be terrifying if they could talk. Because You ever just look at a cat or a dog for more than 2 seconds and just go, if you opened your mouth right now, I would shit my pants. Like, if you started, like, just talking. Like, you just go, fuck you, cat. And the cat's just like, fuck you. What? Next story. This comes from Fox 13 News. Same people who gave us that phony Bigfoot story last week on SOS. Took a picture of a alligator riding a manatee. Here, Dylan, I'm going to send this to you on the Facebook. But manatees very recently were taken off the endangered species list, I believe. So were pandas today, actually. I should have mentioned that. They were taken off the endangered species list. And they're thriving much more, manatees, I mean, down south than they were 10 years ago. And now it seems that the alligators, which were also on the endangered species list about 20 years ago, are taking advantage of it and using them to get around. Did you see that?
I'm looking at it now. That's interesting.
You gotta wonder what the manatee's thinking. If the manatee is like, not a fucking taxi service, you prick.
Maybe he's into it.
Maybe. I guess the alligators aren't really a threat to them, because they're probably too big for an alligator, right? Especially one that size. I mean, it's smaller than the manatee is. I don't know if they prey on each other, though. I've never found that out.
I'm not entirely
on
sure.
Each other. Yeah, the manatee's hunting the alligator. I meant if alligators prey on manatees. Probably like little ones they do.
I also can't even tell really from the picture if that's a full-grown alligator.
No, it's definitely it's definitely a smaller one. You can tell by the shape of the head. If it's got a lot of fat around the head, then it's older, and that one doesn't. So it's probably only a couple years old. Still like reached sexual maturity though, I think. Not that matters necessarily, unless he and the manatee are having a nice interspecies relationship that is none of our business, and we don't have to inquire any more about. But
I'm disgusted.
I just thought it was interesting because turtles do it to alligators as well. Turtles will ride on alligators to get around, and it's just really bizarre to see these very different parts of the food chain kind of just act cool around each other, you know? It definitely.
Now what I really want to see is a turtle riding an alligator, riding a manatee.
Yeah, what would the manatee be on? A shark, maybe?
Maybe.
And that shark is riding a killer whale. It's like that. It's like that theory that the Earth is on top of a pile of infinitely larger tortoises.
I don't know though. I feel like there are more convenient ways for an alligator to get around.
Like swimming, like they do anyway, because they're aquatic reptiles.
No.
No, yeah, no, none of that. None of that.
No, like the image that I just shared with you.
Oh, I didn't see it. Well, that is certainly a better way to get around on land. Look at how chill that alligator looks too. He's just like, you know what, man? Yeah, I'm riding an ATV. What do you want? This is what I do now. This is who I am as an alligator.
He seems to have a grasp of how to sit on it too.
Yeah, he does. You can't knock his style and his posture for sure.
If only his feet could reach the is that like a pedal down there? I don't know how ATVs work. Do they have pedals?
I don't know. They probably something like that. It's probably not really a pedal. It's more of like a clutch.
Maybe it's just a footrest. I'm overthinking this, but
Maybe it's just magic. Maybe you just insert a ferry into the back of the gas tank, and that's all it takes.
I mean, to doubt this alligator's ability to operate this motor vehicle.
All right, so let's move on. Dylan, what the hell is this thing that washed up on a New Zealand beach? Here, I'm gonna share it to you through Messenger so you can tell me, because I don't know. This is also on I Fucking Love Science. New Zealand, of course, a hotbed of weird shit. It appears to be... It looks almost like just a big rock just covered in clams and seaweed, you know? That's what it looks like.
In New Zealand?
What?
Apparently there's a species of penguin that live in New Zealand.
The world's smallest penguin.
Apparently.
Spotted
Check that
on
out later.
Muriwai Beach in Auckland. Understandably confused. Suggestions ranged, of course, from an alien spaceship to a work of art to a Rastafarian whale to Rose, the slug-like receptionist from Monsters Inc. How does it look like? I guess I can see
It
the
looks like a,
Roz.
to me, it looks like a rock.
Roz, not Rose. Roz.
To me, it looks like a rock covered in weird shit.
That's what I said. But apparently, some people think it looks like an alien spacecraft.
What is that weird shit?
However, a few guesses seem to be right on the money, suggesting that it was actually gooseneck barnacles growing on a large piece of driftwood. It's most likely they're more specifically smooth gooseneck barnacles, judging by their distinctive purple-brown tentacle-like cirri. Oh yeah. Ugh, that's gross. They look like penises. Ugh. Fucking this dry wood right up its ass. In times gone by, it was thought that barnacle geese, as in the actual bird, hatched from these strange barnacles, as nobody in Europe had ever seen the geese lay eggs. Nowadays, they're considered a delicacy in Spain that food buffs pay hundreds of dollars for. People back in the day were fucking retarded.
The barnacles or the geese?
Both. They're both retarded.
Oh, okay.
No, they thought that the geese hatched from these barnacles. But they think it was the
No, but I was
fucking alien.
thinking, which one is the food delicacy? The sentence made that unclear.
Oh, yeah, good question.
I'm guessing the barnacles.
As nobody had ever seen. I think it's the eggs, because that sentence directly follows them mentioning that nobody had ever seen these birds lay eggs before. But it's bizarre that they never just found out what it was, like just go up to it and rip the shit off of it to see what was under it. Maybe they were scared.
I don't know if I've ever actually looked at a barnacle. The fuck are these things?
You've never been on a boat?
No.
You're uncultured. Oh, you've never even been to a beach, have you?
I live in a landlocked state, my friend. Landlocked.
Man, you wouldn't last 5 minutes out here on Long Island, man. The mean streets, the mean beaches, the mean barnacles.
I mean, I could just not go to the beach.
Yeah, but the barnacles would find a way to get you in your home, man.
I would kill them.
I bet you would. Dylan, NASA says that Earth is due for an extinction level event. Pack your bags, man.
The world's smallest penguins, by the way, adorable. So what were you saying about NASA?
Well, NASA says that we're due for an extinction level event, and that those penguins are first on the list.
Oh, good.
So Earth is due for an extinction level event from the sky, and even if we see it coming, we won't be able to do anything about it, a NASA scientist said Monday. Speaking at a meeting in San Francisco, Dr. Joseph Nutt, that's his name, or is it Nuth? It's N-U-T-H. I guess it'd be Nuth, but I'm going to call him Dr. Nutt. So Dr. Nutt said that large asteroids and comets, the type that would wipe out civilization, are extremely rare, but tend to hit 50 to 60 million years apart. Given that a comet wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago, one could argue that we're slightly past due. The biggest problem, basically, is that there's not a hell of a lot we can do about it at the moment, but maybe there could be. Nutt cited a close encounter in 2014 when a comet passed perilously close to Mars. It wasn't spotted until 22 months before it nearly reached the planet, which Nutt says isn't enough time to fend off a similar threat to Earth. That's why he's suggesting NASA build a rocket to be kept in storage and deployed when we know the big one is on the way. If such a rocket were kept tuned up and could be ready to launch within a year, Nutt said it could mitigate the possibility of a sneaky asteroid coming in from a place that's hard to observe, like from the sun. NASA itself had nothing to say about the possibility of non-astronomical extinction-level events. So basically, Nutt says just be ready. An asteroid might be sneaking around the corner, on the sly, on the low key. Just sneak up right behind you and fuck you up the ass, so look out. What do you think?
I mean, I'm not sure what metric they can say that these random giant rocks in space will normally appear at certain intervals. I don't understand how there could possibly be an actual rhythm to that.
It just seems
However,
it just seems to be like a coincidence to me.
just seems like a pattern that has happened a couple times before, and so we assume that it's going to happen again. However, that being said, yeah, I mean, an asteroid could come at any time. I think we're all aware of that.
It's so fucked up too that we could just be wiped out from above.
I mean, well, obviously, what we need to do is build a giant robot in space to blow up any asteroids that might come our way.
Or just get Bruce Willis to do it.
That's what I'm proposing. Yeah.
Maybe just get Bruce Willis to pilot the robot, which would probably be smarter than what they tried in Armageddon.
Yeah, definitely don't do what they did in fucking Deep Impact, because half of that asteroid still made it to Earth. So, although President Morgan Freeman did handle the situation with grace.
He always does, I feel.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, we could die anytime.
Yeah, it's very scary. We're all going to die one day. Maybe by an asteroid's hands. So,
although we're overdue by 5 million years already. So if we are overdue, and that's the metric of things, and we're looking at this from a geological time scale, we could be thousands to millions of years away from it still happening, though. So
yeah, because that's a big time scale, and we're just a little.
It could happen.
We're a quick.
It could happen tomorrow. It could happen tomorrow, but by the same token, it could happen like when we're all dead anyway.
It could happen in 500 years.
It doesn't really matter. So.
Yeah, nothing really matters, you know? We're all going to be hit by meteorites. But if it did happen, I guess you can maybe argue that this statistic is based on the movement of the universe, and these big cosmic destroying space rocks just happen to move up in kind of the rotation of the universe at these certain times. Do you think maybe that's what he's basing that on? It just seems like he's like, I don't know, man, 50 million years ago, the dinosaurs got wiped out by a big rock, and 50 million years before that, somebody else got wiped out by a big rock, so...
Yeah, it's more what it's like. Like, we have a few examples in Earth's history of asteroids that size hitting, and so they've taken the time between those and been like, oh, obviously that's the metric. And maybe I'm not being fair. Maybe there's way more science to this that I'm just not aware of. But it just seems strange to me that they can put an exact number like that on it. You know?
Yeah, that is very bizarre.
It's like when they say we're overdue for the fucking super volcano to erupt. I'm like, are we really? I don't fucking know. Do you know? Like,
what am I gonna do about it? You have to be ready, man. You have to be prepared. It's like, okay, so let me go buy my anti-volcano gun just so I'll be ready for when the volcanoes come knocking at my door.
I'm more worried about that, because if we see an asteroid coming, we can try to shoot it down. The fuck are we gonna do about a volcano? You know?
Blow it up.
Shoot the volcano.
Just blow it up. What would happen if you just blew up a volcano? Like, just get rid of it.
I don't know if you can do that, though. A volcano is in and of itself a mountain that explodes, so how do you blow it up?
Well, I think the explosion would it'd probably be worse for everybody if you do it that way, because you'd probably just cover the entire country in an ash cloud.
You need to freeze it.
Yeah, there you go. Go all get Gamera on it and just drop bombs on it and knock it on its back and make it look all embarrassed and shit.
We need Victor Freeze to solve this problem.
I love that was their plan in the original Gamera, by the way, that they were like, not only are we going to freeze him, but we're going to knock him on his back and make him look like a real fucktard. There's some psychological warfare in that movie that I don't think it's given credit for. Dylan, you want to do one more?
Sure.
Alright, so last one. This one also comes from I fucking love science. Why you shouldn't eat any snow, not just the yellow snow.
Oh, well, of course, there's like tons of pollutants in the atmosphere and shit.
You know the saying, don't eat yellow snow. Unfortunately, a new study published in the journal Environmental Processes and Pornography, so that's not what the article says, by the way, suggests that you shouldn't actually eat any snow at all if you can avoid it. Oh, but if you're forced to, go ahead. Snow has been found to act as a rather effective sink for tiny particles that are found primarily in car exhaust fumes. So any consumption of it is effectively like eating a pollution-flavored popsicle. It's great. Yep. They should start selling those in grocery stores, like pollution-flavored popsicles. You know, you get different flavors. You get carbon monoxide, acid rain.
I mean, they do sell snow cream, but I'm assuming it's purified or manufactured or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can make snow. I mean, they do it. They make fake snow for movies, so I'm sure that it's something like that. And of course, we have snow cones and shit, but that's just ice.
It's a lie. It's all a lie.
Air pollution is a killer, with 3.3 million dying each year from the inhalation of toxic near-invisible particles, according to the United Nations. China, whose capital regularly suffers from genuinely suffocating smog, accounts for 1.4 million of these deaths. The WHO is about to release a report detailing just how many have died recently from man-made phenomenon. In previews, they are already declaring it a public health emergency. Dylan, what's your thought on pollution? Fucking killing all these Chinese people.
What's my thought on pollution?
Well, more that what I just said, that it accounts for 3.3 million dying every year from the inhalation of toxic material, and it's pretty much only coming from man-made sources, so we can very much so do something about it. It's just controversial to get people to do anything about it. What's your take on that?
I mean, that's fine, I guess.
What's fine? Killing people, or not doing anything about it, or...
I don't know. What was the question again?
Well, how do you feel about this idea that we pump all this pollution into the atmosphere and we can scientifically prove that it's responsible for killing at least 3.3 million people every year? So why don't we do anything about it? Because we can. It's not like this is an asteroid coming from space that we had no control over. We're directly responsible for this. We don't know necessarily who, but we know that us as a species are. So don't you think that we should take steps because we're aware of it? That our awareness gives us a moral responsibility to not just be like, well, what are we gonna do? Who knows? I don't know. I think that pollution is one of those things where it's like, it should not be nearly as controversial as it is, you know? Because yes, I get that, like, it's an established part of our society, and not pollution, but industry and producing shit and manufacturing. But if it's killing people, we should probably stop.
Perhaps you're right, yeah.
And on that note, I think that that's going to do it for all the advancements in the field of science that we've made today. Well, Dylan, we know that the Earth is probably going to be blown up soon. We know that we're probably all going to die from pollution. But hey, at least maybe we'll get to try some dinosaur meat at some point soon.
Hopefully before the supervolcano kills us all.
Yeah, hopefully. I'd also like to...
You don't have to freeze.
I'd like to
You're never going to beat Batman.
I'd like to try riding on a manatee as well before we all die. That'd be nice. Putting that on my bucket list.
I wonder if manatees taste good.
Ooh, they're very, very protected, my friend. You'd be put to death if you tried manatee meat.
Oh, only if they found out. You said they were taken off the list.
Cop pulls you over. You're just dragging a manatee on the side of the road.
I can't be the only person who's ever thought about eating a manatee. I mean, they're called sea cows, for crying out loud.
I'm sure people have. I mean, that's probably partially why they were so fucking endangered, because people were just pulling them out of the sea and just eating them right there. They were also, though, like...
You don't label a species the cows of the sea and expect me not to try that shit.
Isn't it hilarious that that's what they're called, but they were also the basis for mermaid mythology? Like, oh, I'm a crazy French sailor and I'm fucking horny, and oh my god, look at the beautiful woman in the water. Oh no, it's just an ugly, hideous white monster.
Who the hell saw a manatee and thought it was a woman in the... Like, I'd hate to see their women if that was a mistake that could be made.
Well, it was like the Spanish from like 1402, so it was probably like their women probably had teeth that were made out of like fingernails and shit, so who the fuck knows?
If we went to Spain right now and we found out that all the women there look like manatees. They're like, oh, now it makes sense.
Well, this explains all these legends. So Dylan, we've made quite a few advancements today. How do you feel?
I feel dazed and confused.
Don't we all? All right, well, on that note, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Demons from Outer Space. A little bit of a shorter one this time, but we're sure you don't mind. So that's going to do it. Next time, we are going to be doing X2, right, D?
Yeah, X2.
So cool. We're going to be talking about the second film in the X-Men franchise.
I believe is the subtitle, right? X2, X-Men United.
Indeed. Now, I'm looking at my schedule here, and next week is our last episode before Christmas. Maybe we should put off X2 until after Christmas and do something Christmassy next time. I know that we did a Christmas special for Through the Shot Glass, but it might be nice to do something on here. What if we
special to do motherfucking Christmas, even though we don't have anything planned for motherfucking Christmas.
All right, I got an idea. What if you and I each pick one Christmas special from a cartoon or TV show that we love, and bring it on and talk about it, and we can have each other watch it and we can review it. I know one I'd already want to do. Do you have any ideas for one you might want to talk about that might be funny?
Because we didn't do the Thanksgiving thing this year like we usually do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can think of something.
Awesome. So that's what we're going to do next time. We're going to each pick a Christmas special from a TV show that we like, and we're going to talk about them. So you've obviously got to let me know before the episodes, that way I can watch it.
I'll probably do one of the South Park Christmas specials because they're hilarious, but I'll have to choose which one I want to do.
I would like that as well because I haven't seen those, so it'd be nice to finally sit down and watch them. I'm going
in particular that I have in mind.
I am going to be doing. We might as well just announce them now so people can watch them if they want. I'm going to be doing this Christmas special from the first season of the Real Ghostbusters. Crap, what was the episode called? I don't remember. I'll find out next time. But it's the Christmas special, and it involves time travel and fictional characters becoming real, and Peter Venkman dressing up in a tutu. So we should be delighted.
And as I said, I'm going to select one of the South Park Christmas specials. I'm not sure which one exactly yet, but I have two in mind that I'm going to narrow it down to. So.
Delightful. So that'll be next week. So we hope to see you then. Rogue One is this week as well, so we're going to be doing our SOS special on that next week, so look out for that too. And you can follow the SOS Network homepage on Facebook to get all of that. The Godzilla Odyssey page for the next installment that we're going to be doing soon. D, we should probably do that either right before or right after Christmas.
Yeah, maybe in the space between Christmas and New Year's because we don't have anything planned for that stretch of time.
Yeah, good idea. It'll be a good late Christmas present to the kids. So look out on the Facebook page for Godzilla Odyssey for that. All of our podcasts go up early on their respective pages now. So if you want SOS in this early, follow the Facebook page for SOS. And if you want Godzilla Odyssey early, follow that Facebook page. And you can also follow me on Twitter to get them all early as well. So many places that you can get early access to your favorite SOS podcasts, if favorite is even a adjective you would ever use for the SOS. So thank you as always for listening, and we'll see you next week. I'm Bill Worster, a.k.a. Zazubar.
And I'm Super DM64.
Dem Germans, they be fucked up. Always kill Krillin, kids.